All right, with that, we're moving right into our next session. Before we begin, if you'd like the great Kurt Elster to tear down your website, share it with us here in chat, or you can email it to me. I'll go ahead and peek into my emails, make sure I got everybody. We've only got 2 submitted, so if you're the 3rd submission now, we'll add you into the mix. We think we can do 3, maybe 4 here. Kurt, are you ready to tear people down?
Well, yes. Yeah, I am. It sounds like the crowd's ready too. We should be good. Should be good.
That is amazing. What a very perfect intro. I still need to get myself one of those soundboards.
It's easy to abuse. It's a lot
Yes.
of fun.
I honestly, I want a person. I want somebody to just follow me around with that, so that when I drop very bad jokes at networking events, I've got somebody to back me up. But
it works better. Like if you watch a sitcom without a laugh track, everybody looks crazy. You add that laugh track, suddenly everybody's funny.
It is so true. I can only imagine what that's like during the pandemic. Did you ever? I don't know if you watched. I watched Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and he had people actually laughing, and then he went into his home studio, and it was like silence, and it was like, yeah, it is actually really tough to want to laugh along when there's nobody laughing in the audience. It's just one of those psychological things.
No, absolutely. Well, it's a form of social proof, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll be seeing some more of that right now. Before we begin, why don't we give the plugs for everybody? We'll plug the podcast, of course, in the site, but tell people where they can learn more about you if they haven't found you on the internet somehow already. Almost everybody should know who you are, but
oh my gosh, you could Google me, Kurt Elster, kurtelster.com. Big on Twitter, at Kurtinc, KURTINC. But really, I'm best known as host of the unofficial Shopify podcast. Search for that wherever you get your podcasts. It is a valuable educational resource and has sound effects.
Awesome. And your agency's still got a massive backlog of customers. So you don't even want new customers. You want podcast listeners.
I do want podcast listeners. Yeah, our agency, Ethercycle, ethercycle.com. If you want to apply, I do have a theme setup opening. If someone wants to refresh a theme, okay. I'm here for it.
I gotcha. Actually, we'll talk about that. I might have somebody for you. All right, let's get into it. If you want to share your screen, and we're doing this all on mobile, right? So this will be interesting.
Yeah, well, if you look at the stats on your devices in your store, the chances are it's 80, 90% mobile, depending on the brand. And so as web professionals, we look at everything on desktop, and that's wrong. That's just not where your customers are. So we're going to do the whole thing on mobile. I got my phone here, going to share my screen, and we'll work from that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the setup you've got to share your device is also awesome. So yeah, I've got two brands here for you. If you guys want to submit yours in chat or email, send it on over to me. I'm ready for you. And here, I'm going to add this. And all right, we're starting with xmiles.co.uk. And I think it was Matthew that sent this over to me.
All right, there we go. And so I've seen X Miles before. I think it's through this. I think he submitted it to you before. And so he's making steady iterative improvements through public teardowns, which I have to admire. Really.
He's getting away with not having to pay that $500 teardown fee.
Yes. And so looking at this site, I think the easiest optimization here, and also the most important, is text size. Like, consistently looking at this thing, my criticism is this is hard to read. And no, it's not because I'm almost 40. I got this big phone right up in my face. I think a lot of this text is too small. And that's, earlier I said, hey, we spend too much time looking at our sites on desktop versus mobile. This is the kind of problem you encounter when you do that. And so looking at the site, like there's text in the logo that's illegible. Unreadable. If I squint real hard, I could figure it out. But I love having text as like a tagline as part of a logo, because it appears on every page, and you're able to. People's eyes tend to go to it first, so they tend to read it. But like, he's got this great tagline with this great social proof: UK's fastest growing online nutrition store. Nutrition over 17,000 customers. It's it's pretty tough to read. Like I would break it to 2 lines and make the font bigger. Go with 16-point font is your minimum, and that's usually a really safe number. We got this logo, Marathon Ready. Get your nutrition essentials today. My only issue here, I don't see the product. Show me some product, right? But we're speaking to the pain or problem that it solves. We're speaking to the goal. Like you're saying, hey, if I read this, I know immediately if this is for me or not. If I'm training for a marathon or have in the past, all right, you have my attention. You have managed to identify me as the ideal customer. Not that I'm training for a marathon. And so we've got subscribe to get 10% off your next order. It would be interesting if that was a pop-up, and I love firing these pop-ups on scroll. And one great piece of advice I got recently is if you want to increase the opt-in rate on those welcome pop-ups, instead of telling them what % off they're getting, say, save money on your first order, sign up and get a coupon. And you never tell them. And so you get more opt-ins, potentially lower quality subscribers because they just want to see what it is. But
curiosity. I love
think,
it.
yeah, I think it's net win, especially if you've got a really dialed in welcome flow. So like that's an easy optimization anybody can do. There's a lot of text going on here. I don't know if like white space would help. Big fan of white space. And then there's a lot of widgets. So especially on mobile, having all these sticky elements could be troublesome. Because like right now I've got a chat widget, this PayPal widget, and then there's the accept cookie thing that's stuck behind both of them. All right, let's see if I could click the accept cookie thing. Oh, I got it. Okay, good.
I worry that some devices might have the PayPal icon over that.
Definitely. Like for sure that could happen. And so you really want to minimize these sticky elements, especially since like there's so many screen sizes out there now. It is tough to test for every scenario. And then, oh no, when you add in like, okay, a device can also be in landscape versus portrait. Things go off the rails pretty quickly. But I imagine if I'm on like an iPhone mini, maybe these things don't line up quite as nicely.
Yeah. What do you think of the PayPal icon in entirety across like sites? I don't see people using this.
I don't love it. I
That-
bet this
what-
is
you don't have to be politically correct here, Kurt.
Well, this is the thing you could use Google Optimize. Like if you're dangerous with Google Optimize, you could easily split test this element. You could use Google Optimize to hide it for half of people on the site and then set your goal to revenue. And what happens? Because if you use I like that revenue goal because you're really combining average order value and conversion rate. But yeah, I mean, like there's no context to it. It's just a PayPal logo. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's an ad for PayPal.
Yeah, and that's not what we need.
Yeah. All right, so we got explore all brands. I like when people who have a big catalog do this. I think it works pretty well. Merchandising wise, I like that as I scroll through this site, it's just throwing a lot of stuff at me. Because generally, like if you can capture my interest, which ideally if I landed on the site and I saw Marathon Ready and that was me, then I'm going to start scrolling through and throw a bunch of bestsellers at me, some new products, some stuff you want to move, and see they got new arrivals here. It's a smart strategy because it's way easier to get people to scroll, especially on mobile, than it is to get them to click through. So what we found often works on homepages is throw a bunch of stuff at them, see what works. And then if you want to get sophisticated with it, okay, start using heat mapping to figure out how far do people typically get? What elements are they clicking on? What elements are they not? Use that to optimize. And then if you have enough traffic to support it, it is not difficult to split test individual collections of merchandise on the homepage to see which of those perform best. Now, the catch with Google Optimize or any split testing tool is it does require a fair number of conversions. Otherwise, you just end up waiting forever to get a statistically significant result. It's frustrating. So,
What do you think about personalization products that might, test it out or swap it out or use their own AI or engagement model around that? You see a lot of people using that on homepages?
I see very few people using personalization of any kind in general in e-commerce. And
Wow.
I think this is a huge missed opportunity for most brands. Anytime you can go through an exercise to make your website more relevant to the person who's on it at that time, it's probably going to perform better. Why wouldn't it? And so I like Anytime someone asks about personalization, the answer is yes, probably do it, or at least try it and see what happens. And often, like I was talking about split testing, these split testing tools are essentially personalization engines. So you can use those to do some on-site personalization, like Google Optimize will do it, Dynamic Yield, VWO I think will do it. And you can, like, one of the things you could optimize for is new versus returning customers. I like
Plug in
that.
some personalization tools here in chat, just for everybody.
Once
To the
we get
ones
to the
over here.
bottom, now it kind of moves into more what I call the safety net. So we've moved past all these products. I still didn't see anything that catches my eye. Okay, well, here's some brands. Maybe there's one you recognize or you're interested in. And then how it works, explaining some common questions, I think is smart. As featured in, we have some social proof. I'm never sure if these social proof sections should go top or bottom. I think it depends on the brand. There's probably no like hard or no single correct way to do it. Try it both ways. And I think the other thing that's interesting about a homepage, especially on mobile, you don't have to have, if you have a really important element that you know helps people convert, it could live top and bottom on the site. It doesn't have to be like, either or. Get your fix. I like that. Trustpilot. So this whole section is just all social proof and objection risk reversal. Like, need help, you can get a hold of us. Here's our email address. They're very upfront about it. Here's why you should buy. And then we've got our footer. And I always look at the footer as like, here's an easy way to tell if a site is trustworthy and someone put a lot of effort into it. That is probably my bias as a web designer developer, someone who's too into the industry. And this footer looks pretty good. The only thing I would do if I'm being like picky is try and is this Trustpilot being centered and everything else is left aligned. If Trustpilot were left aligned, then this would all look very coherent and cohesive.
What do you think of Trustpilot as a review tool? Because they do, reviews a little bit differently in that it's kind of like aggregated on their site, and so you really are competing more like in a Yelp style way for reviews, but as opposed to like, I don't know, just a review widget that only displays like the product reviews on a product detail page.
Well, I think I don't have personal experience with it, but I've noticed that merchants tend to have a love-hate relationship with it, because you have less control over the content, and so they don't like that. But it is a more, especially for like a savvy consumer, it is a more trustworthy review source.
Yeah.
So it's, I think at this point everybody realizes the reviews on your own site get filtered versus like, Google reviews, Better Business Bureau, those are perceived as being, well, that's more honest, less filtered.
Yeah, it's so true.
Should we jump to our other one?
Should we go into, let's look at a product detail page, perhaps.
Okay. Well, so on this site, the primary call to action appears to be your personal best. And so if we get that, it says, why marathon ready?
Something tells me there's something we're not seeing here. And the text is absurdly small now.
And if I squint, I can read it. Are you planning to take on your first set? All right. So similar to the headline we saw on the homepage. Pre, during, post, get your nutrition guides. This is not necessarily what I expected. And there's no direct products on here. But what's smart about it is it's educational content. So, okay, if I start scrolling through this and I either know this but agree with it, or this is new to me and I'm thankful for it, then I become more likely to buy. But again, this is another scenario where I would love to test performance of this versus performance of a just like a straight collection, or maybe a more buyer's guide focused educational content. It would be interesting to see how those two perform against each other. Or maybe this is a personalization opportunity. New customers, let's show them this version. Returning customers, let's show them like a buyer's guide type scenario.
Yeah.
But I like how education focused it is. Like sports nutrition for beginners. Okay, that's where I fit. And they're going to talk me through it. Oh, and they're going to convince me. depression, diabetes. All right, I'm interested. Energy requirements. And now here's the mistake.
Dead
I'm
end.
like waiting for you to sell me something here. There's nothing there. So
Yeah.
ideally, I want feature products in here that I could click through on, put a featured collection at the bottom that I could click through on. It'd be nice. But like anytime I get to the bottom of the page and it's just like, share this on Twitter. I'm not going to share it on Twitter. I'm leaving. It's over.
Yeah, there's a tool called Matcha out there that helps you embed products into your content, and it can kind of optimize for certain categories and articles so that, when you're reading the sports nutrition thing, it links you directly to maybe it's the milkshake can or your first weight set or whatever it is, right? So it can automatically bring those things in, and then you can track the ROI and performance from it in a dashboard, which is pretty cool because it kind of gets lost in conflated sometimes.
It's kind of funny. At the bottom, it says tags, article. I would just hide the tags display. Like, clearly you're not using it. Just hide the tags. So it's not, you don't have that odd tags, article. Or try and group them. That could be helpful. What is nice about these articles is they have internal links. And then, so I was able to click through related articles. And then, I got to one that's got a link to a collection. And then lo and behold, the collection's pretty good. We've got a call to action in the collection grid, like choose options. And I have split tested this on several sites now, putting a button in the grid, in the collection grid, and in every one of the tests it performed better. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be true for every single brand, but in my experience, it is definitely worth exploring. I know he's got badges on here, like save 8%, new badging as far for your collection grid and for merchandising seems to work pretty well. I like that move, and I like that if you have a few but not a ton of sold out items in here, do we hide the sold out items or do we include them as a way to create urgency? I don't know what the right answer is, but it's an interesting consideration. And then
There's a tool, by the way, that does these badges now in like massive bulk, can update products so that when the sale goes live, the badge is already there, and so forth and so on.
Is it Mode Magic?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Here, I'll plug it in here.
Oh, look at this. Under stock, only 4 units left. So you can see the same thing on Amazon, where it's like as soon as it drops under 20, it'll tell you like, order soon, only X number left. I like that as a very legitimate way to demonstrate scarcity. All right, you're not lying. You're not like, there's only one left, and it's like some JavaScript widget that makes it up. That's probably his actual inventory. He's got dynamic checkout enabled, so I can click buy with Apple Pay. Like if I wanted to purchase this within the next 10 seconds, I could do it. That is the magic of those express checkout buttons. And so it makes impulse purchases way too easy. I own a RoboCop t-shirt as a result of this.
Come on, you love that t-shirt.
I do. RoboCop's my favorite movie.
But you might have not purchased it if it was a little harder, is what you're saying.
Yes, I would have second guessed myself. But like, this is dumb and not done it. Yeah. And look, he's got spend 20 pounds more and get UK free shipping. Smart, because it's going to increase his average order value, right? I'm like, man, I'm at $10. I got to spend 20 more. Maybe there's something I know I need, and this reminded me. Okay, I'm going to go look for it. Yeah. And so that's why on the cart, you may want to, if you have one of these nudges, these free shipping nudge calculators, and this could be built into the theme, or there's like endless apps that'll do it for you. This would be a good spot to have like other customers also bought. And so, you're saying, hey, spend $20 more. Also, here's some stuff you may be interested. That's worth about $20.
Yeah, both LimeSpot and Rebuy, the tools I plugged in chat, they like auto install that widget, and then they test out all of your products to see which ones actually should go there.
Yeah. Well, and all of these they all have the same goal. They increase average order value. So all inputs on your site stay the same. Same number of visitors, same conversion rate, and yet total revenue goes up when you move that one lever, that average order value. So this is a very powerful lever to pull.
Absolutely. Earlier, we were talking about how time on page increases average order value. And it's one of those things that's people forget that. It can, because you're discovering more products. So very, very similar. Like one lever leads to another lever, leads to the final lever, which is more revenue, more profit.
One conversion killer we just encountered here is you have to have an account. It's accounts required. That's a setting in Shopify. You could choose accounts disabled, accounts optional, accounts required. What this looks like, accounts required, and it's going to reduce conversion rate. Sometimes there's a reason where they have to have it or they need it. My preference would be set customer accounts to optional, and just leave it up to the customer. And then the way it lets you do that is they can either create it up front or they can create the account after they make the purchase.
Yeah, I agree completely. We have to leave it optional unless you have some sort of subscription only product or something like that, perhaps, or really, really tight brand.
Yeah, I've heard, or like, you've got your like top selling product is from some vendor who requires it. Maybe it's part of like a minimum advertised price policy, or who knows. But often it's sometimes there's a reason for it. But if not, if you don't have to have it, I wouldn't do it. I'd make it optional.
Absolutely. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
All right, you should have
What we
it
got here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh, we've got a problem.
We have. All right, we got double pop-ups. So I'm not sure how this occurred. It could be, they're both on timers, but this is a thing you probably want to avoid. For these pop-ups, I like to fire them on scroll, just because then that they fire when the person is actively engaged with it, as opposed to I opened this, several minutes ago and it was in the background, and so the tab fired and I wasn't even looking at the site. And then same deal, like, okay, 10% is what it's offering me. Just say save $, when you subscribe to texts, and I'll probably do it to see what I get. Here we go. Okay, so our primary concern with the other site was text is often too small to read on mobile. This site does not seem to have this problem, which I'm thrilled with. Something a little strange is going on with this.
This top banner is giant.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, they've got this scrolling announcement bar, and one of them just has a little bit too much text in it. And this sounds like by package protection, so it's kind of a warning if tracking states. So
that's
it's about route package protection. It's very popular.
Yeah, see if you can shrink that to one line and bring this bar up higher, right? We don't want it that big.
Yeah, because then suddenly it looks pretty good. I like the choice of fonts here. We've also gone with really powerful, striking imagery. I like this. I might consider, all right, if we're on our make it easier to read kick, I find left aligned text will generally be a little easier to read than centered, but that's so minor. And then sometimes you run into this issue where you get like text over a photo gets tough to read, especially when you shrink it down on mobile. And so what we'll usually do is some themes will put like a drop shadow or a glow around the text, which helps separate it from the image, make it easier to read. Or if we really want to make sure it's easy to read, put a lighter dark overlay on the image, depending on the text. You're just trying to add some contrast to it. And then you also don't want to run afoul of accessibility issues, where contrast is a big concern. Gift cards. We haven't seen anyone really like merchandising gift cards, and we should recognize this image. This is the Shopify default gift card image.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even know.
Yeah, but like logistically, one of the we're running into shipping challenges and shipping logistics this year. It's just a fact of life for anyone who has to import goods. If we find ourselves in a scenario where we flat out don't have the inventory to sell for the holidays, then I think that's where gift cards are going to become important. And one suggestion I saw on Twitter from Webb Smith that I liked a lot was you could really mitigate the issue. Let people buy gift cards in advance at a discount for 2022.
And so the gift card doesn't even become active till next year?
Yeah. when hopefully when your inventory has shown up.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, this site, like the merchandising, the messaging, the imagery on this site, really, really strong. And then we get down to, we've got a full-on magazine cover in here, 50% off. We got this badge trending. I have very few suggestions for this because it's really good.
Yeah, the reviews are right there. Instagram's plugged in. It's looking pretty
We got
solid.
looks. I like, especially for an apparel brand, reviews that really focus on can we get user-generated content is great. And of the reviews app, that's like Looks' primary goal is to get those that UGC.
Yeah, photo and video, super huge for a brand like this.
So here we're gonna say shop this. Oh, did you see that cool little animation they do on the button? All right, watch this. Isn't that neat?
Ah.
Little CSS trick. I like that. And so we lead with our photo. We know, about half of people when they land on a product page, first thing they do is go through the photos. What's nice is touch to scroll works on here. That's really, you want to make sure that works on mobile, that I could just swipe through my views. And I love this. I love the fonts they picked. I'm such a typography nerd, so I like this font pairing. It's very nice. Are 4 interest-free payments of QuadPay. I like these. They increase average order value conversion, these buy now, pay later solutions. I would center this text just so it matches the rest of it. And then, once we get into our product form, they also do this. Look, only 1 item's in stock.
Yeah, better buy.
Yeah. And add to cart. They've got the secure checkout. And that's one of the things I would split test is that section. Do we need it? Does it do anything? If not, we can get rid of it. If we know it does, all right, we're keeping it. Here we're doing, we're talking about like, all right, you want to increase average order value. Well, that's where they're running frequently bought together, which is great. Though
You
I do
actually wanna
notice it's got
remove that.
Route as one of the products.
Yeah, this happens all the time for Route customers because they're a good partner of ours, and we tell them you have to. There's just a little checkbox manually that removes it from being recommended in those widgets because it is a frequently bought together product for every product, right? Because it's like people are really buying this. So just turn off that checkbox because that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's such a common issue. If you Google this at all, you'll immediately find a solution for it. And then again, we've got the you may also like. So a lot of attempts at merchandising here.
Yeah, very
Add
solid.
to cart. Oh, it uses a modal cart, which is not a thing you see often anymore. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a modal cart. These are, it's another upsell.
It's an upsell pop-up. I love it.
Excellent. I mistook it for a cart pop-up. Well, all right, so let's get those 2 added and continue. So yeah, the site really goes through a lot of effort to try and up that average order value, which is great to see. Order note, I would remove unless there's a really good reason for it. If there is a good reason for it, then rephrase the label order note as a question. Secure checkout, I would get rid of this, especially in the cart, because it is so... I think it's confusing, right? Like, it's secure checkout with, like, I want to click it. And then below where we have our actual checkout form, look what I had to scroll down to go find it. So often on mobile carts, we move that to the top above the items, and then you don't have that issue. Like, there's really nothing saying we have to have the cart form live at the bottom. It doesn't have to. It could go at the top. And then when the page loads on mobile, boom, it's always there above the fold.
Interesting. I guess that's a quick fix with a developer.
Yeah, it's that one's not tough. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and it works if you just copy and paste the section in the template and move it up, but not necessarily. Facebook Pay, I didn't even know that was a thing. Shows what I know.
Oh my gosh, that's actually really interesting. I've heard that this is up and coming. So
whoa, someone's in a beta. Look at that.
Yeah. Facebook is coming after e-commerce hard. They're gonna try and sell you right on the channel soon. So
they've been trying that forever.
Yeah.
I believe it when I see it. And then PayPal gets its own little pop-up in here too. Um, yeah, I love these express checkout options. And one thing people may not know about Shopify is these express checkout options appear in the checkout because they didn't appear on the cart. Did you know that's how that works? You disable them in the cart, then they'll appear in the checkout. If you enable them in the cart, they'll disappear from the checkout.
Oh,
The
that's
checkout
interesting.
checks for their presence on the cart. And I don't know that one is necessarily better than the other. Again, that's one of the things you want to test for.
Yeah, generally more options is better, right? That's the
For our payments, for sure. Yeah, because people have preferences, and it's if we have everybody on mobile, they don't necessarily want to have to type in all their info, manually through a browser, and that's really all of these express pay options represent convenience because they've just stored all my info and they're just going to put it in for me, and then there's security with it too. Like I've got my payment info, I know it just lives in one place.
yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. I don't like entering my credit card information, which I just did buying something online. And it's like, no, you should know who I am, right? And then it's still not a thing. Not everybody knows.
One common issue people run into is customers will say like, I don't know where do I put the discount code? Where do I put it? And it's because on mobile, even though it says enter discount code, it collapses this view on checkout.
And then sometimes you wonder, is the discount applied? Did it work properly? And you get worried, and then you're hitting back, you're hitting forward, you don't buy.
Yeah. And really, I think like you've got, a handful of customers who ask, and then it makes you worry about it. The reality is I think most people just blow past it. If you're on a Shopify Plus store, you can put a little bit of CSS code and you could force this to default open. But like, look, it pushes all my payment options down, and
Yeah.
though Shop Pay pops up first. I don't know.
If you're on Shopify Plus, you can also add that little chat button there. The team from Helpflow explained how answering questions right there at checkout. They just go, "Hey, is the discount properly applied?" And you can pull it up and say, "Yeah, looks good."
Oh, that's
and
cool.
And so,
all right, if you want the low tech non Shopify Plus way to do a similar thing, the checkout logo is its own logo graphic that you upload. So you stick your phone number across the bottom of the logo. Questions, call 1-800, and then you put that in your checkout. There's your workaround if you're not on Plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Just put a masked phone number, like a forwarding phone number or something. Otherwise, you'll be in
use
for
a
it.
service like Google's, Ring Central, Grasshopper, any of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, with all the things you reviewed today, what do you think maybe in the broader e-commerce landscape, what do you think the biggest problem people are making, especially in preparation for Black Friday? I know there's a lot. I gave you a big, broad spectrum of questions or answers.
Well, okay, I think we focus too much on our tech stack. So, like our apps, our tools. And
sorry, Kurt, you're breaking up. You're going to have to leave.
Oh, jeez. No, I think the missed opportunity is in the more traditional marketing, low tech stuff, which really is copywriting, like the positioning, headlines, messaging, and the product descriptions. Oh my gosh, most people just blow past their product descriptions. It's like, well, that's a job to be done. Checks it off the list. Moving on. And really, like when we do conversion rate optimization work, copywriting is where a lot of the gains come from. So if that's the interest, is like, okay, let's get that conversion rate up so that we can spend more on cool apps and tools with Derek. Then I might consider, hey, take another look at your product descriptions.
Yeah, actually, I think that's really powerful, and especially because there might be a reason for different messaging, and we just heard from StoryPop, different storytelling around why you're selling this for Black Friday. Why is it on sale for Black Friday? Like, try and walk people through, why your sale is the way it is. Like, this is on sale because it's been sitting in inventory for 6 months, or is it just like a really hot product that you think everybody needs to have? Like, really sell that in the description.
Yeah, well, give me a story. Tell me a story about this product and why it's on sale and why I should buy it and how it's going to make my life better. If you can rephrase your messaging and your descriptions as these stories centered on the customer, suddenly everything will work way better.
Yeah, instead of a list of features or sizing and all that stuff. Awesome. Kurt, we've already plugged Everyone needs to go to unofficialshopifypodcast.com, subscribe on either Apple, wherever you listen, Stitcher. I've been doing Google Podcasts lately. Found that one to be maybe one of my favorites because I
like
don't touch
Spotify.
Apple.
I'm using Spotify for my podcast now.
Okay, yeah, Spotify is good as well. And it's a must listen to podcast. Everybody in the Shopify ecosystem follows Kurt's advice here, and he's got always really punchy headlines. I would say you have brilliant copywriting when it comes to the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And it works, I'm sure, very well for SEO as well. It seems to always be very relevant.
I hope so.
Yeah. Awesome, Kurt. Thanks so much for joining us today, for tearing down a few sites, and thanks to the brands for volunteering those sites. We look forward to seeing you again in 2022 at some of our upcoming events.
Thank you, Derek.